I tried to run over the Dogman. Dear Scary Stories NYC. Things have been hard on me and my family, so I lost my temper when I saw that monster run out of the woods on that night. It made what I interpreted as a threatening move toward me and my dad on a night when I could not deal with any more hostility from anyone. I was sick of being treated like an animal by people, and so I guess I tried to take it out on that Dogman. I've got to explain myself a little first, but then I'll give you all the details of exactly what happened. I'd been working in media in Atlanta since I got out of college decades ago, but I'm originally from Michigan. That's where this story took place at the end of last summer, or I guess maybe it was autumn, because the leaves on the trees were not all green any longer. I had been called back to Michigan because both my mother and my sister had been forced to undergo a medical procedure by their employer, and both had sadly left us as a result. These were not jobs they needed, they were jobs they took to keep busy. My father's savings paid all their bills, so it just all seemed so unnecessary and horrible to me. I was very stressed out when this story happened, but it did in fact happen. I had my father in the car with me throughout the Dogman experience. No, I do not have a dashboard cam, and the only proof I have is the word of myself and my father. Why I would want to tell a story like this if it weren't true, I don't know. It does not flatter me, so make of it what you will. So a few years ago, my family had moved to a house near Lake Gogebic, and one night I was driving my father home from a social event that he couldn't get out of. I had never seen him so down, and it was all I could do to keep my own feelings bottled up. I knew enough to know not to act happy, so I just focused on staying alert and busy, making sure that things got done that needed to get done, and keeping my own feelings inside as much as humanly possible. But seeing my dad in this state got me angry. I shouldn't have to apologize for feeling protective of him, especially not in a time like that. So we were driving down East Shore Road, which runs right near the lake but is surrounded by trees and affords no view of the beach or anything like that. And in fact, it feels like you're driving in the deep woods, at least until the leaves fall in the winter. And as I'd already mentioned, they hadn't gotten around to that yet. There are these little roads leading off from East Shore Road, and I honestly don't know where most of them lead to. Sometimes when you peek down the road, you'll see a mansion, or at least a house. Other times you'll see some kind of a fence, or a blockade. And then there are the roads that just seem to lead off into nowhere. It was from out of one of those roads, that seemed to lead to nothing, that I saw the Dogman emerge from. My initial reaction was one of surprise, quickly followed by curiosity. My father started screaming that there was a wolf standing up, like a bear, and I guess that's a pretty good way to describe it. The front legs, though, they didn't seem like normal wolf front legs. They seemed kind of almost more like arms. They seemed even more like arms in a second, but I haven't gotten there yet. So I beeped to warn this guy. I didn't know if he was an animal or a man yet, but I could clearly see that he was a guy, to get out of the way. I was not in the mood to slow down at all. So did the whatever it was back off or run away or even move out of the way? No, it did not. And it didn't freeze like a deer might either. Instead, it just sort of launched into this really over-the-top West Side Story sort of pose, like he was showing off how scary and badass he was, but just ending up looking like a Broadway dancer. I had been dealing with lawyers for the hospital for over a week. There was nothing left on planet Earth that was gonna scare me. In fact, I was so insulted that this hairy upright dog, this animal, was telling me how it was gonna be. He was gonna tell me. I slammed my foot down on the gas and I drove that car directly over in the direction of that obnoxious monster thing. My father was screaming at me to stop. He even grabbed my arm and tried to pull me away from where I was trying to drive. But he was unable to change anything. We drove at some speed well over the limit, directly toward that beast. And as we got close, I could see every hair on his scabby body. I could see the blood caked into his gray fur. I could see his tall dog ears held back in anger. But one thing I never saw when I looked at that beast was I never saw fear. A second from annihilation, that animal had no fear in its eyes. And then, later than should have been possible, he leaped up and somersaulted loudly off my father's car roof. I saw him land safely and elegantly on the road behind us when I turned to look. I screeched to a halt, and I'm not exactly sure why. I was so surprised by what had happened that I stopped the car, and I leaned out the window to look back at that thing. That canine yet manlike thing had just performed an act of athleticism unlike any which I had ever seen. My father was shouting at me to get out and go see if the animal was all right. In fact, I did open the car door, but only to get out and have a better look at that thing from where I was. It sure was large. It really was bear-sized. Why was I not familiar with this kind of an animal species? I'd never seen or heard of anything like this before. And then, while I was watching it, wondering how badly hurt it might be, and what my responsibility was in that moment, the creature stood up like a man, again, revealing that it wasn't hurt at all, and my knees buckled as I climbed back into the driver's seat. "Is it all right, son?" asked my father. "Oh, it's fine, Dad. Don't you worry about that," I told him as I locked up and put the car back into gear. We took off down that road like we had robbed a bank, but the Dogman was on our tail almost immediately. We were going over 60, but that thing kept up with us, and my father was shouting out an angry prayer, asking God why his family was being punished like this. The creature, whatever it was, ran effortlessly alongside my driver's side window, tapping on it whenever he could get close enough. I was so fed up with that taunting animal, as well as everything else I'd had to deal with, that I was about to swerve the wheel left and try to wipe the smirk off that animal's face. Suddenly, he took a sharp left turn into one of those random side roads that lead off of East Shore Road that I told you about before. He was out of my sight in a second and gone. My father told me to slow the car down, but I was honestly expecting that thing to jump out of a tree on top of the car or something like that. I was completely paranoid and really scared. I got us back home as fast as I could manage, and I made my father wait until I'd made certain the coast was clear before letting him get out and go inside. It honestly did feel like my family was cursed, and that's the only reason I reacted so terribly when I saw the dog-headed monster thing. I had no right to drive toward him that way. I was becoming the same as those soulless institutions, forgetting to respect the sanctity of life in a real sense, not just with words. But acting out of anger did nothing to improve anything. It only got that Dogman angry at me. It only placed my father's life in danger as we sped down that narrow road at well above safe speeds. Nothing good at all comes out of losing our temper, even when we feel as though life has been very unfair to us or those we love. Acting out of spite or malice is never justified, and never makes any of your problems any better. And I learned this on the night when I tried to run over the Dogman. If you want a fine fellow, then you sure want him. I'm talking about Godzilla Tim. Please join me in thanking today's executive producer Godzilla Tim for making this episode possible. Godzilla Tim is a channel member who receives all our perks, like our archive of over 25 hours of secret episodes, and then sometimes he donates to us either through our PayPal or by using our new thanks button under each of our YouTube videos. That's sorta like Super Chat, but for those of us who don't do live streams. Godzilla Tim is a big reason why we're even still on the air, so thank you, Godzilla Tim. And now to explain how you can become as cool and as highly regarded as Godzilla Tim is our international TV spokesmongrel Henry Lee Dogman. Hank? Thanks, Biggie. And thanks to all of you for watching this far. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like to see more of our work, please subscribe. And also click that bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we put out a new episode. To become an executive producer, you can donate to us through the thanks button under each of our videos or through our paypal.me/PeterBernard209 page. To receive cool perks like secret uncensored Dogman episodes far too wild to ever run on this channel, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button, or join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. Joining either at the $3 a month level or above gets you access to our over 25 hours of secret uncensored Dogman stories available nowhere else. Do you have a scary story about Dogman or some other kind of high strangeness that happened to you? Let us know by emailing us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or by leaving us a voicemail message at 804-LA-SCARY. You may need to call back on that one. It cuts off after I think 3 minutes. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff, thank you for simply watching to the end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.